Imagine the rugged frontier of northwestern Anatolia in the year 1300. The Ottoman state had just been born, but its future was far from secure. Osman I had declared his independence, yet he ruled only a small frontier Beylik, surrounded by powerful enemies. To the west stood the Byzantine Empire, weakened but still dangerous. To the east and south, rival Turkish beyliks competed for land and influence. One wrong decision could destroy everything Osman had built. Osman understood that simply defending his territory would never be enough. A small state that remained passive would eventually be surrounded and defeated. If the Ottomans were to survive, they needed to expand. But instead of launching reckless attacks against heavily defended Byzantine cities, Osman chose a far more intelligent strategy. His first targets were the isolated Byzantine border forts, watchtowers, and small villages scattered across the frontier. These locations were lightly defended and served as important supply and communication points for the Byzantine Empire. Capturing them would weaken Byzantine control while strengthening the Ottoman position without risking a costly battle. Before every campaign, Osman gathered information from trusted scouts. They explored mountain passes, forests, rivers, and enemy roads, carefully observing troop movements and identifying weak defenses. Osman believed that knowledge was just as valuable as swords and arrows. Every attack was planned with patience rather than emotion. The Ottoman warriors, known as Ghazis, were perfectly suited for this kind of warfare. They were expert horsemen who could travel across rough terrain with incredible speed. Instead of fighting long battles, they struck suddenly, overwhelmed isolated enemy positions, captured supplies, and disappeared before Byzantine reinforcements could arrive. These early victories had a powerful effect. The Byzantine. Osman's repeated victories along the Byzantine frontier soon caused serious concern among the empire's regional governors. Reports arrived almost daily describing Ottoman raids on border outposts, supply routes, and small fortresses. What had once seemed like isolated attacks was now becoming a carefully organized military campaign. The Byzantine commanders responded by reinforcing their frontier defenses. Additional soldiers were sent to vulnerable forts, watchtowers were repaired, and patrols were increased along important roads. They believed that stronger walls and larger garrisons would stop Osman's advance. But Osman had no intention of fighting on the enemy's terms. Instead of attacking the strongest fortresses, he continued to search for weak points. His scouts carefully monitored Byzantine troop movements, reporting every change in the enemy's defenses. If one fortress became heavily protected, Osman simply shifted his attention elsewhere. His flexibility made him an unpredictable opponent. The Ottoman cavalry became the heart of every campaign. Riding across the hills and valleys of Anatolia, they moved with incredible speed. They often launched attacks before sunrise, catching Byzantine soldiers completely by surprise. Within minutes, supplies were captured, enemy positions were destroyed, and the Ottoman warriors disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. This style of warfare slowly exhausted the Byzantine frontier. Governors were forced to spend more money defending distant outposts, while their control over the countryside weakened. Villages that had once depended on Byzantine protection began looking toward Osman for security. Unlike many rulers of his time, Osman understood that military victory alone was not enough. Whenever peaceful settlements accepted his authority, he allowed local people to continue farming, trading, and practicing their daily lives. As Osman's influence continued to expand, fear spread throughout the Byzantine frontier. Border commanders realized that defending isolated fortresses was becoming increasingly difficult. Ottoman warriors could appear without warning, strike quickly, and disappear before a proper defense could be organized. Every successful raid weakened Byzantine confidence while strengthening Osman's growing reputation. Osman knew that winning battles required more than bravery. He understood the importance of discipline and organization. His commanders were instructed to remain patient, avoid unnecessary losses, and attack only when the chances of success were high. Every campaign followed a carefully planned strategy rather than relying on luck. His Ghazi warriors became famous for their speed and determination. They traveled across forests, rivers, and mountain passes that many Byzantine soldiers considered impossible to cross. Their knowledge of the land gave them a major advantage. They could launch surprise attacks from unexpected directions, forcing the enemy into confusion before disappearing with captured supplies and prisoners. Meanwhile, Osman's growing success attracted more than just warriors. Craftsmen, merchants, farmers, and entire families began settling inside Ottoman-controlled lands. They believed that Osman's leadership offered greater security and stability than the constantly threatened Byzantine frontier. As new settlements developed, agriculture expanded, trade increased, and the Ottoman economy grew stronger. Every new village that accepted Osman's authority provided additional food, taxes, and manpower. These resources allowed him to maintain a larger army and prepare for even greater military campaigns. The small frontier Beylik was gradually transforming into a well-organized state capable of challenging far larger powers. The Byzantine governors watched these develop. Episode 2, Osman I's First Battles: The Rise of the Ottoman Empire. Part 4, almost equals 400 words. The confrontation that Osman had long expected was finally approaching. Years of careful planning, small victories, and disciplined leadership had transformed his frontier Beylik into a growing military power. His warriors were no longer inexperienced raiders. They had become skilled soldiers who trusted their commander completely. Across the Byzantine frontier, anxiety continued to grow. Governors exchanged urgent messages, warning that Osman's influence was spreading faster than anyone had predicted. Border fortresses that once defended the empire were now isolated, and many nearby villages had accepted Ottoman protection instead of relying on Byzantine rule. Osman understood that the coming battles would decide far more than control of a few frontier forts. They would determine whether the Ottoman state would survive or disappear. For this reason, he personally inspected his troops, strengthened alliances with loyal Ghazi leaders, and made sure every campaign was carefully prepared. Before marching, Osman gathered his commanders and reminded them that victory depended on discipline, courage, and unity. He warned them not to underestimate their opponents. The Byzantine Empire still possessed experienced soldiers, powerful fortifications, and centuries of military tradition. Only careful planning and determination could overcome such an enemy. As Ottoman forces advanced, their confidence was stronger than ever. Every warrior understood that they were fighting for something greater than land or wealth. They believed they were helping build a new state that could protect their people and shape the future of Anatolia. These early campaigns became the foundation of Ottoman military tradition. The tactics developed under Osman, rapid cavalry attacks, careful reconnaissance, surprise assaults, and disciplined leadership, would later be used by future Ottoman sultans as they expanded Acro.